What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 game development live stream where we're back in our Deck Knight project, a game built from scratch using Unreal Engine 5, C++ blueprints, the gameplay ability system plugin, and all of that good stuff. Let me just fix the camera there. So today we're going to continue. We're going to be working a little bit on our bow and arrow mechanics, and I think we're going to focus a bit on state tree and kind of cleaning up how the melee abilities and the range abilities can kind of block and override each other, because there's a couple input related issues, like you can interrupt the bow attack with another bow attack, bow and arrow attack, for example. And you can kind of spam it, and obviously I got to fix that state tree as well. So we're just going to be a miscellaneous fun little day, see what we can get done, and just keep pushing the project forward. So let's go ahead and let's start. So let's jump into the bow, or the ranged weapon here. And we need to, of course, I've added the new task that lets me block transitions based off input, because there's cases where, with input buffering specifically, where you can buffer and press the input at the same frame, and then in state tree, because of my task for listening and rebounding states tags, the state tree ends up getting two tags at the same frame. And so I want to kind of reduce that. And maybe I need to also update tags, like, and things like that, but we can start little by little, right? And so let's go into the basic range. Let's add this new task. I said block state tree transition, and we'll do it in a similar fashion that we did for melee. Like, I made a float parameter for it. So it's my rename, copy it, and then now new float parameter. .05, right? So that'll be our duration for how long we're going to be blocking state tree transitions, because the input buffer that's typically within these attacks have a block in it, so it blocks input buffering, so it shouldn't really happen after that short duration. So let's go ahead and enter that in, and then we have our transition. And we're going to say, hey, we can only enter this if we compare the bool. We could just say if it's false, right? And we get the same transition down here as well. So we just got to paste that. But then in our actual kind of bow attack, and also we got to work on inventory at some point. So we got to look at that probably later this week. Today's just going to be miscellaneous fun bag of options and fixes, just to try to improve the quality of life of the base mechanics here. Now, so within this, yeah, we're gonna maybe potentially move this to a chooser. I don't know, but yeah, we have this. We have a rotation warp. We have all this audio as well. We have all of these events. We need to add the block and buffer, right? So input, block and buffer. And for now, I want to make my mechanics so straightforward that I don't want to have different tracks for different parts that you can input, block, and buffer. Like, I don't want you to be able to block and buffer and release certain attacks sooner than others. I feel like just to make my life easier, make things clearer and understandable and readable, it's all kind of mapped into the same input buffer track. So that's kind of what I want to keep for my philosophy for right now. So we're doing this. We're gonna shoot. And we'll say about here we can block. So the buffer time percentage was 8.5, so halfway through you can buffer through. And yeah, the same buffer, right? Block. That's what I need now. Block. So block melee. I mean, is that really the one? No. Let me go to other melee attacks. Just look at attacks, because maybe I need to just make it like a default value when I enter that thing in. This is one, yeah. Status up. Really that. Then we also have to go into our... Is it CTR? No. What is it? It says tag relationship mapping. So base. We can add our range. So yeah, there's instant melee. Probably gonna change that to something else. Like, because I want to have a primary weapon and secondary weapon. Or secondary weapon right now is always going to be a bow and arrow. Whereas the primary can be the sword, it could be a great sword, it could be daggers, it could be anything else, right? I forget the other examples. So let's go into our ranged basic. Let's give it a ability tag. So ability action dot instant dot, we'll do not block, but secondary dot instant dot secondary weapon dot basic. So let's add that tag in. Apply it. Activation own tags. You know, we try to do affect that gameplay. Status, no. Status. Gameplay. Does melee have anything? Let's see. Base. No. So maybe we would need to have some sort of labeling just in case. Hey, Kavazar, how are you doing? Thanks for popping in. That gameplay dot. I have like a basic here. And we could do the same for the ranged attack. I'm doing good. I'm glad you're doing great. We have a 3-day weekend here where I'm at, so having a chill day. Got a lot done. Hoping to get more done today and on stream. Secondary weapon basic seems fine. Okay, now we more or less have to kind of copy this entry. And then we have block ability.range, and then we got action. But I redid, no, instant melee is still what it's called, but yeah, action, instant and secondary weapon. Say like that, right? So in theory, well, what I need to do now is also add range here. So I don't think it works in the sense where, like, if I were to do status.block.ability, I don't think this actually blocks everything correctly. I think I will be able to interrupt it. Okay, no. That's interesting. That's good, though. Maybe I can just put status.block.ability. Longer weekend is always something nice. I'm following your progress on YouTube. I wanted to see what you're working on this time. Hey, I appreciate you keeping tabs and watching the game progress. So today, like, you know, I haven't been struggling, but like, no, that's not true either. I've been struggling, but like, I'm trying to just clean up some of the mess that I have here. That I've introduced, like the ranged mechanics. I want to be able to make sure I can't interrupt things correctly, make sure things kind of resolve correctly, and just have a general improved feeling when moving between melee and this ranged ability, and then trying to figure out from there what to do, right? Because there's some parts I want to redesign in terms of the ability slots. I don't think there should be 5. I think there should just be 4. I don't think there should be a bespoke, I guess, evasive ability slot override. I think that could just fit within the passive set of card abilities. But I was able to finally like kind of fix some bugs with the melee combo, interrupting itself because it was interrupting and getting multiple stage free events for the melee input tag. And yeah, I might need to be renaming some things where I don't know if it needs to be instant.melee, but more instant dot, primary weapon dot sword dot melee dot basic or something. I guess a more bespoke tag, So kind of just cleaning out my tag hierarchy now that I kind of want to work with the paradigm of like a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. Special. Just making a tag pass as well on some of these things that maybe I don't need. It's gonna be hopefully a chill vibe, you know what I mean? Say basic dot in air, right? Very, very granular tagging. Hoping like I can't interrupt the thing in air with another melee attack. Oh, let's see. That's fine. Cool. That feels good. Let's go to project settings, go to gameplay tags. Let's find melee. Let's find instant melee. So search. Oh, this is here. So instant.melee. We gotta change everything in here. So instant.melee, we gotta just say instant.primary weapon. I think that'll be enough. Can't interrupt with the dodge. I can still interrupt with that for some reason, but I think it's because the actual. Oh no, I added it just now, right? Literally just put ability. I'm in air, I do this. Oh, not that one. I'm in the air, I do a jump attack, and I can still interrupt with that for some reason. So let's debug this for a second. But I don't think I necessarily need it because it's a primary weapon, right? So yes, that's not blockability. So does that mean I can interrupt basic melee with this? No. Unless, okay, so let's find the air attack. Probably? No. Okay. That's a different attack, which we'll probably have to look at. Go to air, right? This tag, this combo, sorry, this chooser, and we have special air. That's this one, and then we have this one, which I think can just be ability. I hope. So let's test this out. Doing this. Yeah, still I can interrupt it. But I can't interrupt it with these other attacks. Like, they get properly buffered. But why? Can I interrupt my roll as well? No. Okay. Let's jump in the air. Special. Oh, yeah, I have status that blockability. Oops. Keep pressing the wrong button. So, status that blockability. But I'm able to just interrupt. Which doesn't make sense to me. And I'm assuming the special is the same. Let's look. So I'm charging. So that doesn't work, but I think it's because I need to update. Now that I did a refactor of the input stuff, I think I also have that. Yeah, additional listener. So I'm weapon, hold, and then melee dot. Is it called heavy? Here, can I interrupt? No. I'm spamming Y, but that part I can interrupt. That's kind of broken. So, for some reason I can't interrupt that, but as soon as I let go, I can interrupt. Which is funky. I'm not sure why that lets me do that. Also this. What is the character? It should be like input related things, a lot of input related things. So, is there process input? Setting the controller. Oops. Process input. This one. So it has not. Yeah, here. Right. So it shouldn't even get here. Okay, I'm not sure why not. But yeah, I guess the other part of the equation is the initial transition logic too. Because like from idle, for example, it says condition matches query, and that's falling. But idle is a melee combo 1, has no conditions either. So where am I using the melee transition tag requirements? Anywhere? Okay, in the entry conditions, right? Yeah. So possibly I need to do the same here. Well, I am. Player on. Use weapon attack cleaner. could debug this, I suppose. Go to range. Again, like, I guess this transition stuff really doesn't make too much sense. Like, I should just be kind of blocking input straight up because it's used as part of like a state tree transition. So let's go into my input buffer component. Because yeah, there's all this cues and stuff. Listening to input actions. There's also the notify state. So what does the notify state even do? I can't even remember. So add loose gate. Okay, so it adds the loose gameplay tags for blocking tags. That's really all that it's doing. So like the input buffering isn't technically blocked. So like technically it has to be a little bit more complicated than this. It's like how, I guess. So we add this blocking tags, right? And then on tick, we open the buffer. And we check, hey, is the float currently? Okay, then we open up the buffer at a certain point, right? And then after we're done, we remove blocking tags. So essentially, we need to I feel like that's let's look. Let's go to range. More or less saw where it happened, right? So we're here, and we get to here, right? So trigger transition. Let's look at it again. Is there like a frame? Because we have status blockability right there, right? We're also able to interrupt with normal melee, which we really shouldn't be able to do. Yeah, we go back to melee combo 1, and we should see if we have all and then none, right? So if I were to just put this as ability, I just want to see if that is enough. Can't interrupt it. So it kind of has to be specific, which I don't understand. I have to say, like, so note tags match. No expressions match. Maybe I have to say no expressions match. I'm gonna say any tags match, and then this is like block dot ability dot melee. Does that still count? Oops. Well, if I hold, I let go, this will interrupt. So for some reason that query, so actor only tags matches. I don't know why it's empty. Can I? If I were to copy this kind of query, does that change anything? Holding, go, I can interrupt, right? Invert. Doesn't work because it's inverted. Let me look. Debug this again. We'll do it with the melee base. Slow down. Go. Right. Pause. Not that. Go up. Here, then. You basically could transition in here. But enter conditions, like. Why is this log not giving me more details? Log effect.gameplay.explode.burn and then comma matches none, right? So, like to me, something is fishy. Now, if I were to, let's do another example. Stop playing that. Let's see if it's a logic issue in this condition. Let's see, replace with has tag. Is it has tag? And I could do exact match, right? So tag container, I would need to get the actual tag of player here. But for fun, let's put the tag container, let's put in status block dot ability dot melee. Right, and the tag we're gonna check for is just status dot block dot ability. So it does not contain. And yeah, I can't even use it because that condition is not working, right? So that condition seems valid. Heyo, how you doing, Mickey Mard? First, hello. Nice. I don't think you're first, but hello anyway. Thanks for popping in. So yeah, something tells me that maybe this query is wrong. This is the matches query. Yes, I'm American. This one matches query, right? Let's go to the source and let's see what happens, right? Test condition. I see you're working in a Polish company. How you're American? Oh, sorry, I didn't see the whole thing. Well, I've been working in Poland for quite some time. I live in Poland, but yeah, I'm originally from America. And you know, just because of my YouTube channel, people knew who I was able to score a job. So I was lucky enough, So constable result equals tag matches. So why am I inverting? I guess is my question, right? So, but that's invert if there's that, right? So I feel like that should be true in this case then. And then again, if I were to, where's the main one, right? Special. There should be the charge one here. So input buffer puts in this, right? So if I were to put melee here, then like I think technically it would work. Test, thumb up, yeah. But if I make this, what is it? Okay, I think it's just because of how child hierarchy stuff works. So in theory, I should just be able to say, hey, block building melee, and just be bespoke about it. And then in here, I could just say, instead of saying no expressions match, I just say no tags match, and then block ability. Not melee. Just be, I guess, specific about it. Or is it the other way around, where I be specific here, and then I don't need to be specific here? Test that theory. I'm charging. Still block. Ah. And it has to be this way, where it doesn't have to be specific here, but it has to be specific there. Yeah. So, I mean, is there a way to think that? Because like ideally I should be able to, well, this is block that ability, right? And this is, did I do the wrong one? Yeah, so that's that block ability. Would I be able to put melee here if I wanted to? We still have a problem? No. So how can I do this better? It's like ideally, if I wanted to specify for whatever reason melee in this track, then it would work. But then if I wanted to just holistically say status dot block ability, it would work as well. This one is also activation blocked. If I change this to be the same, that works fine. But if I change this specifically to melee, then it won't work fine. Oh, it still works fine. Okay. So yeah, essentially it's the transition kind of thing. Hey, thanks for the follow, Undernoon. Much appreciated. How you doing? So, again, ideally, I want to say status dot block ability melee here, right? But then this leads it to break. And honestly, if I change this to status dot block ability, which is what I'm putting here, we attempt the transition, and it still works, right? So I don't know if I need to be specific. Hey, I came onto Switch after a long time. Seems like great content. I hope so. I appreciate the problem. You can watch me struggle for 2 hours. Always fun. I want to, let's specifically say this one is primary weapon.sword.melee.basic, right? Does it block correctly now? No. Maybe this doesn't really matter. I can go all the way up to primary weapon. Open up tag relationship mapping. Get ability tags to block and cancel get required and blocked. And then we call this at some point, right? Here, right? That works fine. I feel like I shouldn't. This will probably get activated immediately. All block tags. Fired, and then like I gotta get a grip on how I need to be handling these activation own tags. So what's a tag that I have always? We have projectile.ricochet, right? So if I were to add projectile.ricochet, in theory I shouldn't be able to use my melee weapon, which I can't. Right? Now if I were to make this just projectile, well not specifically ricochet, Still can't use it, right? Now, if I were to say perk, still can't use it, right? So all of that is making sense. What's not making sense then is I have status.block ability, right? I go in air. I have status.block ability, which means I shouldn't be able to interrupt it with a melee attack. But I can. So that's the conundrum in which I'm existing in. Like, I have the status.block ability, but it's letting me not only transition into melee combo 1, but it's also activating it within state tree. And I also have this condition to make sure that we don't have this kind of tag, which maybe I need to do a different kind of thing. So invert this, remove this, do has any tags, ability.block or block.ability. This is the this is like the weirdest instance of issue. So cool. Does wind and character motion, like say when jumping, affect the arrow projectile? No, not really. Right now it's just a basic arrow projectile that has ricochet properties on it by default because of this perk that I have on. So if I shoot this guy or shoot this guy, depending on if they're in range, it bounces in between enemies. But yeah, jumping doesn't really change anything. Maybe it will. I don't know if I want to keep jumping as a mechanic for this game. We'll see. But yeah, just trying to figure out this one architectural bug, which I'm not understanding at the moment. Could be just like I need to add all of them, and that's the end of the story. So that part fixes it, but the fact that I can activate the ability is so fucking confusing to me. It doesn't look basic to me. It looks very polished. I'm looking inside though. Is this for a bigger game that you're working on? Yeah. So yeah, this is the project that I'm working on in my part-time. And what it's trying to do is a mixture of deck building and real-time combat. So I want to have, in a sense, like a primary weapon and secondary weapon, where your primary weapon is like a sword or a great sword or daggers or something like that, and then your secondary fire is like an arrow, right? A bow and arrow, maybe a staff that could shoot projectiles, something projectile based. And so while you're playing the game and you're fighting against enemies, you have card resources in which you can play these cards that I'm cycling through right now. And basically these cards you can build within a deck in between rounds in order to emphasize your character and your playstyle. So on the bottom left, you'll see ability slots, and you have 5 in total, but I'm going to reduce it down to 4, and you can unlock more of them down the line. And so when you activate a card, if it's an active ability card, it gets slotted into that position, and then using, I believe it's right bumper and face button, on gamepad, you'll use the ability. So it turns into a fireball, and you can also stack if you have enough points, so you can use it twice. As a basic example, it applies burn, does burn damage, things like that. Eventually, I want to be able to build different types of cards, like active ability cards that do something more invoking to damage or proccing statuses or area effects or knockdowns, knockbacks, CCs, things like that. And then passive ability cards, which are things that can last a certain duration that emphasize certain abilities. So you can have a passive ability card that changes your evade into this fireball. And so you can use it for 30 seconds or 10 seconds and then have upgraded versions of these cards that have bigger, stronger effects. I want to have instantly active ability cards where you can summon characters or do something instantly, or have cards that emphasize different playstyles where, for the arrow, for example, maybe there's a recharge mechanic where you can only have 3 arrows before you have to recharge. And so maybe there's a card that instantly refuels your number of arrows or something, or a passive card that temporarily increases how many arrows you have to shoot before the recharge has to happen. Or there's, when we have blocking or parrying, we can have things where, as you're blocking, you can have a different resource that you have as a builder spender, and cards can play off of that too. And then when you're fighting enemies, obviously, there's just going to be mobs and things like that of different types, of different archetypes that can do different things. But then what's in charge of these enemies and these mobs is another AI. And this other AI is also playing cards. So they can play passive cards, active cards that give these mobs special abilities or weaken your abilities, or interfere with your deck in certain ways, and kind of make you try to also counteract their cards. So you can have cards that negate their effects, or increase your power to negate those effects, or to try to counteract their card play. So it's kind of like, in my mind, like a mix of Yu-Gi-Oh style kind of combat, of how the cards interact with each other, but with also the qualities of the Pokemon TCG, where you have illustration rares and rare cards that really do cool stuff that you try to chase in between rounds. So you can buy cards through card shops with points that you earn during the game, and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. It's like turn-based deck building, but it's real time. And hopefully it's not too much cognitive overload for people. That's what the main concern is. Is how can you focus on it while also focusing on the real-time combat stuff? So what's the pace of combat that lets you really excel in both? And what does the player have to learn in order to do it well? You know what I mean? So yeah, for now, I'm just going to live with the fact that I have to just specify all these 3 of these things. So let's update all our stuff here. I think this is not needed, right? Let's delete that. So I have the basic mechanics of the card and the card interactions and stuff like that, but I still have to figure out how I want to do any sort of leveling, how the SIRs work, special illustration rares, normals. I don't want to have too many types of cards. I don't want to do common, uncommon, rare, super rare, illustration rare, blah blah blah. I want there to be a pretty clear distinction, I suppose. Let's update everything. And luckily, because it's a solo project, I'm getting some help on the design side. I have some friends who are giving me some interesting and fun ideas. But I'm the primary developer, so because I'm the primary developer, I can just kind of deal with my own bullshit, where I need to make bulk changes and things and kind of struggle. But, it is what it is. Everybody is set up. So let's see if this fixes it. Yeah, I can't interrupt it until that point. And then for ranged, I need to Yeah, I can't interrupt it until I get into that position. Awesome. Okay. So that is what it is. So that is the block range. And now I don't think I can also interrupt my arrow. So yeah, there are some bugs in it still. Like if we watch from close up, you know, as I buffer, you see the flashing of the sword. So that's why, excuse me, that's why we also need to start making a inventory system. So that we can properly handle, what's the word? When we pop things in and out. But yeah, now we need to add back in secondary weapon, special attack hold, secondary. Triggered and then complete. We'll need to introduce the same things. We're binding that already, right? So same thing here. Block transition. Yeah, but we don't necessarily want a block transition for hold, I don't think, but we'll see. So here's our hold. Let go. So, oh. But yeah, we gotta fix that for the hold as well. And then, yeah, we need like special projectiles for these things. Melee range bow special. And we also need to be able to animate the weapons and stuff like that. Yeah, we need to basically do a lock and buffer. So, block my ability. What was the ability of black? There we go. Sound effects and all that stuff, but one thing at a time. So we got this. Ooh. Yeah, now we actually have to spawn something with this hold. We need a bunch of things. And when I say things, I mean like notifies and stuff. But yeah, you know, honestly, this is kind of going through his ear, but it's whatever. You see, it's kind of not attached exactly correct. You know, the games could be played from like a top-down distance, so like this is kind of close enough. You know what I mean? So we need for sure a shoot. Where are we spawning this thing? More or less this, right? We need that notify. Oh, this, we can copy. Just edit. And this should at least spawn a projectile. So clearly we're in the wrong frame here, so something there. And yeah, so this projectile I would imagine needs to be bigger, maybe it has some more cost. And yeah, I would like it to be kind of mapped to like how many potential arrows that you have. I don't know if I would ever want to be like a charge thing where like I'm debating if it needs to be like a single projectile, you know, or is it like multiple projectiles that kind of shoot in a kind of frontal cone? But then yeah, how do we kind of draw that out, you know what I mean? How do we make that interesting? I also wonder if there's maybe a potential issue in my dynamic grantability. We enter the state, we do blah blah blah, exit state, tick, activate once, right? So it is try activate ability. You get to there, right? Where do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. All the way through this. Because I know, I mean, we got the debug. Or the breakpoint, I should say. So, like, we know we're getting there. I'm going to check out your YouTube. Some good stuff there. Have a beautiful day. Once again, thank you for sharing. Cheers. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all the kind words, and thanks for the follow. It's all much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your day. Maybe it would be interesting. I don't know how we would kind of draw against the, like, an arc. Let's do a for loop. Let's do 3. Right? These, like, we have to understand kind of where we're shooting forward. So, like, how do I kind of draw some sort of radius and kind of, I guess it's the spawn, I guess rotation. Let me do a random float range between 0 or maybe -90 and 90, right? Let's just draw that. What does that look like in practice? So I'm charging. So there definitely shouldn't be 90 or negative, I should say, right? Or it should be relative to my forward vector. So if I do 0 and 90, Well, kind of. Let's see. We're going to have to ask computers on how to do the math here. So start angle equals minus angle step times count minus 1 divided by 2. So we gotta develop a start angle. Probably around here, right? So make a float. Start angle. That is, so we'll do another float angle step. Freeze. Minus the freeze times make a projectile count. It'd be 3 by default. Yeah, so that one do. Count minus 1. It's real quick. Divided by, or times 0.5, right? So yes. Let's put that up here. It's all messy, whatever. It's okay to be messy. We'll clean it up eventually. Oh, got someone, sorry, on Twit. Hi, I have a specific question. How would you implement a shield ability that gives the player a shield to absorb damage and keeps track of the damage absorbed? So for example, if the shield is depleted or the buff effect runs out, it explodes for the damage absorbed. Where would the damage absorbed by the shield be tracked? What would be a simple approach here? It's a good question. Like, to me, I don't know if there's a simple approach. Like, so I'm thinking about it in terms of like the gameplay ability system, right? So what I would do, I would have a specific attribute set or just attribute for shield. And so every time I activate the shield ability, I set this shield stat to whatever value that I would want to represent the health of the shield. And so every time I receive damage, I would check to see if I have shield, if I have any shield stat value. And if I do, subtract the damage from the shield rather than my health or some partial part of the shield from my health. And then by the time that shield becomes 0, I'll know it's time to explode. But if the shield's depleted or the buff effect runs out, so that's how I would track it. And then, you know, after the shield ability ends, like say it's a time thing, I would know how much was dealt by just how much is remaining from that initial max health it had, and then do something with it. So you could say, hey, you know, 10% of the total shield damage taken turns into, what's the word? Like physical damage modifier or something, right? So if you got 100 damage and 10% of that turns into this, you can use stats and gameplay abilities for that. So that's how I would do it. It would be more dangerous. Another approach is you don't have a stat. Well, you might have a stat still that tracks the damage and everything like that. But you could just put a tag on you, and then in your damage calculation, you check, hey, do you have this tag that says you have shield? Okay, you do. Check, modify this other stat instead and track it and see if it ever becomes 0 or towards some value that you deem is necessary to say, okay, you're out of shield at this point. Hopefully that was a decent answer. The other, non-gas gameplay ability system answer is you can generate a shield object, give it a max health, and you could there's these callbacks in vanilla Unreal for getting damage, like point damage received or something like that, and you can just use that to track stuff too. So now our Y offset is recombine. So our base rotation is our base rotation of these. Socket, which maybe we don't need to do. Maybe it can just be our character here. We can get rotation. It's the yaw. We could say this plus this again. Yeah, I think we could just also just split this. It's all super messy. I hate how this is looking, but whatever. Because yeah, we're not going to deal too much with pitch. So now our yaw offset is start angle plus the index times step 3. But in my game, I also have a shield attribute. Healers can grant you a shield. Would you still track the extra shield you get from the ability using the normal shield attribute? So I guess that just depends on the mechanics of your game, right? So if you have a shield attribute, do you want it to be at all related to the shield ability? If yes, then cool. Then basically, if you have modifiers that make you have a stronger shield and then you activate the shield ability, then it has even more shield. Then there you go. But if they want to keep it separate, then just give it a separate attribute name. Oh. Something went horribly wrong. So start angle, projectile count. So let's look at start angle. So angle step degrees is wrong. So 10, I guess. I guess we want to actually do this, yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for your suggestion. No problem, man. No problem. Hopefully it works out. So the pitch is all derpy. So what did I do wrong? So where am I grabbing the pitch from? I could probably just grab that. Okay, it's close. So my start angle, again, is just ideally the start angle would be the same. minus 15. The start angle is minus 10. Doing something wrong. Start angle plus I times angle step degree. So it's actually it should be at least better. Yeah, there you go. So boom. So now we can spawn multiple and could kind of deal some serious damage, right? That looks pretty cool. What do you think? Oh, now, see, we have Ricochet still, which we may not want to have, or maybe we do want to have. I'm curious what you think would be better. Is it, or maybe it's something you can change with a card, like a passive card, where it's like, okay, now your special shoots one big one or something with, you know, penetration, whereas the default effect is like, okay, you can charge and fire as many as you have in like kind of remaining, you know what I mean? Would it make sense to have a passive gameplay ability that uses wait gameplay effect applied to actor to wait for my shield gameplay effect to be activated, then use wait for attribute change to track the absorbed damage, and triggers the shield to explode as soon as the gameplay effect ends or the shield is maxed out, or is that a silly solution? Let me read that again. Well, I mean, it's not silly. First off. Second, so you don't need to, in a sense, you can use a passive ability, but you don't have to do wait gameplay effect applied to actor, I don't think. What you can do is, basically, well, I mean, I suppose it could be the same. So wait gameplay effect. So the ability waits for the gameplay effect to be applied to actor, that activates it. That's a way of doing it. But what you can also do is, when you have a gameplay effect, let me see if I can open up a gameplay effect. Pick one. So when you have a gameplay effect, and I'll also make this a little bit bigger for you to see. You know, you have all these different types of components that you can add. And one of them is the grant gameplay abilities. So you can, instead of just applying a passive one that's always just waiting and stuff like that, you can just grant the gameplay effect for when you have a shield effect and just apply the gameplay ability there, and it will activate immediately as long as you have things set up correctly. And it will also, you know, remove the ability when the gameplay effect ends, and you can do all this stuff that way. But what you said is also valid. I would just be not wary, but like, I would say be cautious about having passive abilities always on, quote unquote always on, but only have them active when you need them. But yeah, wait for attribute change to track the absorbed damage. Totally valid. Track it yourself within the ability, and when the ability ends, you'll know when to kind of do something with it. But yeah, I think it's valid. So now we have a way to shoot out multiple projectiles. Now see, we're shooting 4. So let's see, we gotta do a -1 down here. This would also then eventually be tracked with a stat. So like the longer you hold it, you know, the more charges it will be. But yeah, that looks pretty cool, I think. So bam. And then, you know, alternatively, like the bigger that, you know, if there's like a card that says, okay, you shoot one big arrow, then the charges could just kind of say, you know, how much damage it is. But yeah, my concern now is this arrow base, right? Because it derives from another class, you know, projectile example, and the projectile example, if I'm not mistaken, uses seemingly on hit, which may not want to have. Hi Mjolnir, hi. How can I easily manage and create different modifiers? For example, plus 5% maximum life, plus 5 increased cold damage. It's not practical to a whole gameplay effect for such simple things. I mean, when we were working on Outriders, we had like hundreds of gameplay effects that did these types of modifiers. So creating a gameplay effect is pretty common for that's the one of the main purposes behind a gameplay effect is to modify an attribute. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that, but you could potentially generalize a gameplay effect. Oops. Let me give an example of what I mean. So let me create a gameplay effect, GE example, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, obviously, you know, either if it's an instant effect or has duration, which I'm assuming you want to have is either infinite or has duration for this example, you could have a modifier or simply, as your example, max life, so max health. You could have a, if you wanted, an override. And it would be set by caller. And you would just do it by some data tag. Some general, you know, data tag. So, example data.sample. And you could just do however you want to do with this gameplay effect at runtime. So in your gameplay ability, you could go into a gameplay ability. You could do a what's the word? Apply gameplay effect to owner, but actually no, not that one. You would need make outgoing spec. You would do your example, right? And then you would do assign set by caller magnitude with this data.simple or sample, sorry, whatever's set here. And because it's set to override, you could do your math here and just set it to whatever is the end result. If you really wanted to try to generalize things. But again, it's not a big deal to make gameplay effects that just modify an attribute temporarily or not. Like, that's the point of gameplay effects. So this thing. Yeah, I don't know if it would make sense to also have some sort of like visual draw. To represent these things, you know what I mean? Because I have, what's the word? Like this kind of logic to draw on the ground, right? So would it make sense to also have like a debug, not debug, but just general visual arrow so that you know? I wonder. Again, my concern is that we're using on hit. We might, where we maybe shouldn't. Because if I want to change this to overlap, then I need to change a bunch of things. Collision comp, on projectile hit event, and then this is on hit. But yeah, maybe I need to change this to a on overlap, and then have like a flag to say, hey, you know, can overlap multiple actors or something. We may need to break our projectile. Because then if I wanted to make it purely overlap, right? Like would I need to, like maybe I need to create an overlap only projectile. That's also an option, but then I need to generate, you know, a different event. Like maybe that's okay. Maybe overlap ones just can't do ricochet. Sure, not sure. Really need to start organizing myself. Also base this off of charges and stuff like that. I also have to have like a reset as well for my combo. I'd add that too. Because like for example, like the combo's able to kind of continue kind of too late, I think. Like I feel like there needs to be maybe like a tag as well. But I feel like, because I also want to learn how to have like a delegate work in state tree. I don't know if there's an example. But there is a transition type for on delegate. And I would love to learn how to use that maybe for this use case where we could do like, you know, weight tag added or something and have that delegate kind of fire back. And I don't know if there's an example in what's the word? Vanilla Unreal. Like there's like the delay task, which doesn't have anything. There's run environment query that doesn't have an output. Like I'm curious if it just needs to be an output parameter. I would have to, let's do some research on that actually. And again, my mind's in 1,000 places, right? So Unity 5, C++, how to create, what's the word? Delegate output parameter, state tree, find. Let's ask Google, let's ask Copilot, see if there's any useful information out there. How to assign state tree runtime, F state tree delegate dispatcher. So state tree delegates are used to send events to the state tree hierarchy. Similar to events for more control. Drop. So at phase 3, event dispatch on finish. Sorry, we got a cute kitty here. Sorry. So what do you think about creating GE at runtime is a good idea? For example, create a data table where various buffs will be stored, the table structure itself, attribute value, modifier type, and populate the gameplay effect with this data. Then the game designer won't have to work with a large number of simple gameplay effects. I mean, that's fair. I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. As long, I guess the only issue is like I guess you have to pretty much make it clear, you know, how far this data table can go for that designer, because it basically pretty much stripping all the power away from the designer, and you're kind of scoping them to working within this data table, unless you're saying, hey, you can either use this data table or create your own gameplay effect. And then if you say that, then logic's kind of existing in two different places, where some are using the data table, some others may not. So it's difficult to say. Like, from my experience, the more you take away from the designer, the worse things are. So if this table is super ultra flexible, where you can pretty much construct a gameplay effect within data within this table, then go for it, but I don't think that's possible. At least not within vanilla Unreal and vanilla Gas. Because essentially you're saying, okay, you're only limited to one stat or an array of stats, which hopefully you'll be able to make it an array of attributes so they can modify it. You'd have to do the modifier type, the value, like you're saying, but then you're basically stripping away the rest of what a gameplay effect could possibly do. Like, is there a way for them to also specify what execution class to use? Is that handled behind the scenes from the data table? So say, you know, you want to deal damage, right? And you need to, like, would the gameplay effect underneath know that it's damage that you want to do? And then populate the gameplay effect accordingly? Because that's another issue. Unless you don't have execution classes. And if you don't have execution classes, that's also questionable, honestly. So, honestly, like, another potential issue with data table approach is exclusive checkout. So, assuming you're working with multiple people, maybe you're not, I don't know. If people have to kind of change a bunch of stuff within this data table, how's that going to look for exclusive checkouts, right? In Outriders, for example, we would work strictly in a Google Sheet. And I think once a day or at the end of the day, a couple times a day, we would re-import the data into Unreal and then submit the data table at that point. But if we're seeing, you know, constant changes in the data table, multiple people trying to work on it, you're going to be kind of blocking a bunch of people too from working. But when you have different, you know, you have unique gameplay effects, people are scoped to that one asset, they can work on it as much as they want without having to worry that somebody else has it. Even in those cases, there's instances in which other people will be having those assets checked out too. But, you know, like the ultimate goal is to be able to, if you can make it like JSON compatible and you kind of come to the conclusion that, hey, you guys are working explicitly in Google Sheet, you can re-import locally to test your changes, but you cannot keep this data table locked, and you have some sort of automation that will, at this time, every day or multiple times a day, re-import the values and put it into your builds. That could work. You know what I mean? But again, you're limiting what they can do within the gameplay effect by just scoping what you'd expect them to do. So just be careful with that. Hopefully that was a good answer. You know, there's a bunch of stuff to consider. So yeah, let's see if I can create this task to wait for maybe either wait for gameplay effect or wait for gameplay event. Let's do wait for gameplay event. So what's there? So window tools plus class. Go to state tree task. Or is it just state tree? Got schema. Blueprint base. What are the ones that I'm doing? Let's get this one. So really just the struct, right? So let me not care about it. So we'll do state tree test blueprint base. I wonder if this can also be done in blueprints. I don't think it can. Probably. Let's do a test. Close out of some stuff too. So new task. Excuse me. So test dispatcher, right? So is there even a variable exposed to us in blueprints for F state tree delegate dispatcher? Oops. You have delegate listener and then dispatcher. What does this look like in isolation here? So let's make the task. So we have this dispatcher, right? And then we have on delegate, and we have this test dispatcher, right? And there's broadcast delegate. Okay, so this seems doable in Blueprint, for example. I gotta say I'm gonna convert this to C++, but let's test this out in Blueprints, right? So interstate, we're gonna do wait gameplay event. We're gonna have the actor, so target actor, and it's gonna be context, so event tag, and then on event received, will only trigger once. I will do exactly. We'll do this as a variable for now. And then it should be able to just broadcast, right? And then we can just do finish task succeeded, and then this task just won't be considered for completion by default. So this could work. So what I'm going to test is test dispatcher. So event tag, we're going to say event.animation.melee, and we're going to do .hit. This is used somewhere, right? So this seems like it's actually not needed. So, it kind of is. But let's do a different. Let's do a different event. So event.melee, right? Just more, and we won't do only exact match, right? And then actor. So the contact's actor. Let's say player pawn. Then we're gonna just transition to melee 4. So from melee 1 to melee 4, if we receive this event fallback. So I should hopefully be able to go into the animation of first attack. And let's just put the event, like I won't do any movement input. I'll just add the event back here. So event, so then gameplay event to self. We'll do event.animation.melee. So let's see if I transition to the 4th hit. I do. Okay. So without pressing anything, it automatically transitions back to the fourth column. So in theory, this works. So I would like to do this in C++, and if we manage to do this, that will be the end of the stream for today. So let's do tools, do C++ class next. I guess I could technically do empty. So public game state tree tasks. We'll do create c underscore create for event. We'll do STT for state tree task. Create that bad boy. Gonna take a photo of the cat. She's looking adorable. I'll let that recompile. And there's constructors, blah, blah, blah. Let's just split and move right. Right. So let's use a simpler example. Block state tree transition. So what do we need in general? More minimal? No. But we definitely do need a... Oops. We need both of these things split out as equal. This... Thing we need constructor. We don't need a deconstructor. Just take that out. Take everything out. State tree task underscore GAC. Do. That. Now this needs to be that, I hope. Now we need to create our instance data for the task. It's more or less going to be what we just did in blueprints. So let's that we'll do, and I should probably rename this instance data as well for this other one. So block state conditioning. No. So what do we need? What do we need? So let's look at our blueprint. And honestly, a better way to implement this blueprint is to store this async action, and then on exit state, clear it. I forget, I think it's just end action, right? Just so we don't have like a dangling async task. So I'm gonna have this on my other monitor while we kind of write through this. So we need, so the first new property is gonna be category. That's context. And we will take a actor pointer. Then we need an event tag, so we're gonna do this all out. So we need a timer, no, not a timer, sorry, we need a tag. And, oh, we also need a state tree dispatcher. So we need to do F state tree delegate dispatcher. So event dispatcher.
This is what you brought me here to see.
And I'm guessing it needs to be a new property, right? So new property, edit anywhere, category. Output. That's valid. That could be the last one. So we need an event tag, right? So F gameplay tag, event tag, property, anywhere, category, params. Because I don't want this to be a bespoke input. I want you to be able to do it inline. Boolean. So yeah, let's do cool. Only match exact tag, and then another boolean for only trigger once. The only match exact tag will say true by default, and then we'll say B only trigger once, true. All that seems fine. And then internally, I think maybe this could also hold the async action. So what's the variability? Okay. Ability async wait. Ability async wait gameplay event, right? Async wait play. Something like that, I hope. is valid. And then we only really need enter and exit. So I want to say more or less this. That. Metadata also is the GAC, wait for gameplay. Then we need to do pretty much this. Let's grab everything and just delete tick, tick. That extra. This. Oh, so it's wrong. On the base, yeah. Instance data is wrong. I don't have it, so got to that. But then I need to change that. This. Put music back on. Sorry. Oops. Music ended. And now see this instance data is also wrong, right? So I need to change this to be SHVT task. Wait. Gameplay dispatcher. Dispatcher. Instant data. And then grab you. And then this is happy again. So we don't need tick. Should be able to generate this code. Stuff that I can copy from here. I should be able to just grab this line, constructor. Let's update the description. Broadcasts, dispatcher, target, actor, receives. Seems straightforward, right? So, enter to here. Some stuff, I assume. State tree task base and execution of context for sure. Okay, up to there. Failed and this, and then we need to say what? So I'm gonna say like if not context dot here, or say if data dot target actor that is valid, So that's not valid, right? I guess I could just say failed. We need to figure out how to write this in code, though. Hey, Talus, how's it going? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm working on a state tree task for pretty much the C++ version of this, where we listen to weight the gameplay events into actor, and we broadcast the delegate, so that we can do transitions within our melee combo. When we receive the event, that we should reset the combo. So once we reach a certain frame within our combo, we should tell the system, okay, reset the combo, so you don't have like extended windows of going through the combo, I guess. So I need to say, I guess I can also say if event data dot event tag dot valid, not valid. I say or equals fail. Then I just have to say what? So you feel like I've done this before. Oh no. Maybe. What can I say? Like data dot I feel like that's not right at all, right? I gotta figure out the syntax here. Pet the cat for the buck. Also include this. So data dot why is that not available? Let's just compile, get the error and see. I watched a lot of videos from the Electric Underground channel lately. It was a pretty good recommendation. I'm glad to hear that. I got that recommended by my boss at work. I've been watching a lot of it too. And I like watching Babe 1, Babe 2. That's fun to watch too, seeing all the weapon traces and stuff. That's the issue. So okay. Then can I say? Well, I guess I could say. Fail. Then what else do we gotta do? So I guess I have to write this as maybe a lambda. Then if it's like dispatch. 'Cause I don't think I can really do it this way. Maybe I can. Let's just see what happens, right? So. The function. That will work. Argument types, const. I think the signature is wrong. Just this payload. At least, yeah, fix that part of the equation. Not entirely sure what's wrong here. Is it because it's in a struct? Yeah, because it's a class, okay. Or because it's a struct. Well, let me just see if I can figure out, like, I got ask AI how to write this as a lambda. Unless I also have lambda. So should be able to say so. Data dot isn't that Yeah, received. Add. Resolve. Oh, that's a no dice there. Oh, how do I even dispatch that? Let me just see what errors it gives me here. Invalid use of this. Okay, that's the first problem.
A report that the government cannot explain those mysterious objects caught on video by the military. From an upside-down pyramid-like object hovering above a Navy destroyer to cylindrical spheres disappearing into the ocean.
Splashed. Mark bearing range.
To video allegedly showing one of the U.S. Navy's stealth ships tracking an unidentified object in the sky. Now, ahead of the release of a declassified Pentagon report, the New York Times says these papers do little to clarify what the videos show. The New York Times reports
Not a member. Oh, I'm sorry, not this one. But add weak lamp as not a member. I wonder why. We have input listener, right? We have block stage retransition too. We do create lambda. Just maybe not. How? Is there any chance we might see you on City PR podcasts? Maybe, but nothing's confirmed. It'd be cool, but for now, no. That'd be cool someday. How do I do this? And there's other state tree tasks, right? I think some of them are examples of struct end class. I think this one struct. Sorry, my computer's shaking. My cat's moving around. So there's debug text. Also, just the struct. Stage retask. Maybe play contextual animation.
Holy shit. That's alien technology. This is what you brought me here to see.
you have these things. Sort of the same, right? There's instance. So you Patriot bunch of instance data. So it's a class. Instead of these things. And then it calls the instance data, and then it just kind of falls back into the enter task.
Please observe decontamination protocol.
Things get more complicated when you try to do things in C++, right? Should be doable. Maybe it needs to be similar. Yeah, this is also like instance data. So maybe it doesn't have to be a struct. In that sense. Maybe I can just grab that, nuke that. Do that all in here. Right, let's look at this. So they got the enum. Then they got that class. And then eventually they get down to the struct, which is the common base, right? So this should kind of be the same. But it would be a little different where it would be view instance data type. Yes, so using you instance data type and then this. Virtual const, you should look at instance data type, const override return. This, grab that. And then here I should be able to then put on the, so there's void on exit state. And clean up on tick and play. U function, right? So I should be able to give it this U function now. So U function. That. I need to open this on the screen, I think. Yeah, we have the actual use state tree object. for the exit, and then they just grab all this other stuff. So that's the interstate. So there's two of them, right? So there's the E status run interstate. Exit state. Shot. Forward state, right? Hmm. Interstate, which is the struct, and it just calls the instance data one, right? So let me start this over. Should be able to kind of copy some of it, but no, I'll just start over. So I should be able to say if back data say new instant data type data equals context dot get instance data pointer instance data type this that data and then return data dot interstate, right? Remember is inaccessible. So focus on enter. All public, right? So I should be able to see. Right, so then it calls this. And basically I could just do everything that I kind of just did, right? So I gotta be like, if not context that is valid and failed, and then I'm gonna say like if not actor, could just do log for that, right? Hey, thanks for a sub there, Andrew. Much appreciated. Then we say like if event tag dot is valid or is not valid, or event tag equals f gameplay tag failed. Now I should be able to say equals here gameplay event actor. Then I should be able to say target actor event tag B once, and then B, boom, exact tag. I guess I could, no, so if not autocomplete, and then I can say save.add dynamic. And then
When I think of psychedelic, I think of sort of a loosening of the rules. It's sort of like
then when we're
expansion
here,
of the consciousness. You don't necessarily.
I would hope I would be able to say,
It's more about what
like dispatcher. There's no seemingly way to do that. So let me try to do it. So up. It was easy enough in blueprints, right? Pointer, going bad. Probably not going to compile, but let's see. So, is it really something I would need to get from the context? Do I need to include this? So there's a bound delegate. Let's see, F state free delegate dispatcher. So get dispatcher, dispatcher. Let's see. So see, test for examples. Is there state tree delegate test.cpp? Find out.
When I think of psychedelic, I think of sort of a loosening of the rules.
No results.
It's sort of an expansion of the consciousness. You don't necessarily have to worry about what's supposed to be. It's more about what you feel.
What? Keep looking online. AI making shit up. True. That's half the time. It's not even AI too. It's like this is the comments from the code in state3delegate.h. They're saying see state3delegate.test.cpp for details or examples, and that doesn't exist, it seems. Saying still you do it through the context. Is it because it's not const? This is possible here, context, broadcast delegate, or is it dot? I like that. So how do I handle it here? So I can't access the context here. This is all types. All types are wrong. It's fun. Would this have to be on pick? Maybe. I'll be back in a second. Gotta take a bathroom break. Okay. So I wonder, yeah, if it has to be done through tip. Can I do like e state tree on tick? Code. And then there's this kind of version where I would need to do tick as well. So virtual void tick. Just view. Generate. I'll do the same thing. Tick. I hope. And then up here, I would just check if not contact valid, failed. Is there any kind of helper for this where it's like, so that's event received, so not much there, but I guess I can now make a boolean. So for the event received false, right? And then up here, let's say event received true. Say B. Received true. And here I get to say, you know, if the event received, we can then say, hopefully, context dot dispatch broadcast. If I can't broadcast it either there, and it's because it's const. Does it have to be const? Let's check. Maybe that's good. Who knows? At least it will compile, I hope. And run this through Copilot just to double check shit, but maybe that's okay. Oh, we're still missing some stuff actually, so let me stop it. Cool. So, I think, is it also in state on exit state? And generate. Well, on exit doesn't really have a state through it, does it? This void. Yeah. Say also and is bound. Maybe that should be enough. And then on our exit state here, That's okay. Let's try compiling. Seems promising, but okay, compile successfully. Dope. Okay, so going through Copilot, I forgot to call activate, so let's add that. So he's saying event activate. Oh. Activate doesn't exist on this, right? So why? Member is inaccessible. So I'm assuming the view ability facing. Alright, I'm assuming I don't have to do that. Bad assumption, maybe. And it also says end action. This doesn't exist though. I tried looking at it. End action.
Action right subject with the right music at the right time of the session, it can really fuel that experience.
For broadcasting, it can also be is valid, so that's fair, I suppose. I also have to do those checks too, right? So so B event received. How should I write this? So first I have to say, hey, also event dispatcher dot is valid. Then we would say we would broadcast it, but then we would say if we only trigger once, that otherwise we would need to say think exit state stuff is unnecessary for this. Oh. Well, let's just see what they say about the member being inaccessible. Because it would be in both places, essentially, where here we would say activate, it's also, remember, it's not accessible. Cancel, let's cancel it then. Want to see where cancel is specified. The virtual cancel. So there's activate. This one's public, though. So, maybe it's not needed. Let's just compile again, just to be sure. Protected. It says register with game instance. That seems wrong, but you know, let's just see what it looks like in practice. Okay, so check memory. Get a crash. Why? I still don't know how to set these things up. Each time I try to make a new delegate or something like that, I have to look at a working sample to see how to do it. Dude, I am the same exact fucking way. Crazy. Go to melee. Test dispatcher. Let's delete that. And let's look at wait gameplay event dispatcher, right? So target actor player pawn event. So animation dot melee, right? So no, yeah, event only trigger once, only exact match. Okay. So let's see if this works. Oh, it does not. Let's see.
People want to travel the universe, and go beyond what they see, but the question is.
That, so we get here. That's good. If not target actor, good. Good. Okay. Do we ever get there? So do we really have to register the game instance? Does all that? Let's see. Fingers crossed game. would recommend binding to the generic gameplay event callbacks. Maybe that will be needed. Let's. Do we still have a breakpoint there? So let's see. Still no dice. I mean, did it? Maybe it didn't save when I. Do I have the event still? I do. So event.animation.melee, right? So event.animation.melee. So all seems fine. We're just not getting. That we do get to there. Never get to here. And we never get to here, I assume, right? Dispatcher ballad, I wonder? Tick is never really good. Get here. Then we get to here. Yeah, this tick doesn't seem like it's doing
A report that the government
anything.
cannot explain those mysterious objects caught on video by the military. From an upside-down pyramid-like object hovering above a Navy destroyer to cylindrical spheres disappearing into the ocean.
Splash. Mark bearing a range.
To video allegedly showing one of the U.S. Navy stealth ships tracking an unidentified object in the sky. Now, ahead of the release of a declassified Pentagon report, the New York Times says these
On enter works, right?
by what the videos show. The New York Times reporting that intelligence officials are worried the videos show America's adversaries
Now, is it because it's not const anymore?
developing elite weapons technology.
Maybe. I just want to see if I even get to this tick, first and foremost, but... Don't know which. Having an issue now. Now I'm getting that, like, issue. I'm still not getting a breakpoint. Also, I didn't put a breakpoint, so let's try again. Still not getting the breakpoint.
Holy shit. That's alien technology. This is what you brought me here to see.
Yeah, that's upsetting. Does the exit get called? Not really. So we'll have to continue this next time, but before we go,
Please observe
I need to figure out
protocol.
what's causing this problem. Also, in the meanwhile, I need to see, is there any other examples with this? So there is this test. Like, I don't know what broke, which is annoying. Now I gotta go potentially recreate a bunch of shit. Oh, this is fun. So I'm gonna copy that and delete that. I'm gonna do the same thing for range base. See if that's the problem. Stage tree is very complicated. I was just reading through this. Does that fix the issue? It does. But why? What changed? Property binding data view. Input listener, so this is in the ranged base. Do it there once and just compile again. Still okay. Can still work. Yes. What's this delegate? Let's just compile one last time. Are there any other examples? There's also blueprint base. Maybe I gotta just do blueprint base and that'll make my life easier. I could try that next time. Because there is a guest delegate helper. Okay, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Maybe that'll just make my life infinitely more easy. Because there's bind delegate. Does all that. So let's look at weak execution context. Broadcast. Maybe I can maybe do that as well. And get weak execution context side of this. So, yeah, that's what we'll do tomorrow. But yeah, tomorrow's Tuesday. We'll see if doing it from stage 3 blueprint base makes our lives easier. That's pretty much everything we need. Let's see. Okay. So thanks for watching, everybody. It's much appreciated. If you're already following me here on Twitch, make sure to follow. And if you're not following me here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow. Continue this, see if we could just redo it using the stage 3 blueprint base, because that's how the first attempt was done. Blueprint base, so maybe it'll make my life just significantly easier if I just derive from that, and then kind of go from there. So thanks for watching, enjoy your day, and I will see you soon.